So let's welcome David and Florent to the stage. Just out of curiosity, how many people here went to Florent back in the day? Raise your hand. Look at this, hometown crowd. I want to ask the filmmaker a question first because I have a feeling once we start talking to Florent, the filmmaker may...
I don't show up.
So the first question will be for you, David. Were you a regular there, and how did you decide to make this film?
I was an occasional customer, a morning customer, and it was actually during the writer's strike, and I was working on a project that I thought would never get made. And so I was looking for something that I could just pick up a camera and make. And this idea of Florent and the history that is there, I just thought it was amazing and untapped. And so we have a mutual friend, and I just went over to his apartment to ask him, and I brought my tiny little camera with me, a tiny little camera, and he said yes, and we started filming that day. That there's a scene in there where he shows me his grandmother's recipes, and that's just with some little old high-def camera, and we just started, and we talked for 6 months.
Yeah, I never stopped.
Yeah.
I never stopped talking. It was...
Well, it's amazing that, I mean, you think about how many people passed through there that nobody had ever asked you to do a documentary or had people talked about doing a film about you before. And do you want to use the microphone?
Well, there was a lot of footage that was made for lots of different media and things. But the timing was really great because our common friend knew that the writing was on the wall, and I had not decided yet, which is, our documentaries are best, is when somebody just comes and starts filming, and then it's unraveling. But I had total trust, with David. It was just, and we developed this incredible relationship, and then went, through it, and with my lawyer and my landlady, and it was just a discovery together.
I didn't know the restaurant was going to close when I started filming. No, I just didn't know.
Me neither.
Yeah.
You just thought it was a great story and there's something need to be documented.
So much story.
Yeah.
So many people, and you really are telling the story of New York and changing New York through this little diner in the meatpacking district.
There's something about the movie too, and that I got from my mother is to be kind of anal retentive and manic obsessive about archiving, and there was like files and files and files, which was very good for the two of us too. And David just,
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I walked into his apartment after we agreed, and it really was files arranged chronologically, neatly organized for 23 years. Really neat, perfectly clipped, pre-internet.
That's amazing because I keep everything, but it's all in piles and it's not neat and organized.
My mother would not allow that.
My mother's the same way that I am. So to talk about nostalgia. I mean, I think you've said that you don't have nostalgia for the past. You're kind of looking towards the future.
The present.
The present.
First, and then second, the future. Yes, it's a good thing. As some people may know, just lost my father, and I was in France for a week because it was in the New York Times. It does help not to have nostalgia, and it's I don't live in the past, and I was in France for 10 days, and I'm so glad to be back. It's like swim or die, or give responsibility, make decisions, and if they're wrong, you make there's a mistake, just tell me, and then together we figure it out. But Dorinka, for example, she just started working, and she called me, and was sleeping. It was around midnight, and she said, "There's a fire upstairs." And I said, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "All right, can I go back to sleep?" And she said, "Okay." And of course, 5-10 minutes later, I called her back and said, "Are you really okay?" And then she said, "Yes, actually, Florent, I'm really okay." And this was really the example from the get-go. I made it clear that I was not going to be there 24 hours. Okay, you can't. You can't. And that they had to be in charge. And so much so that, a lot of customers thought that Derika was the owner, or Harry, or Tim, or Denise. And they were totally in charge. And, if the shit hit the fan, it was okay. I will back them up. And if it was their mistake, tell me, and then together we'll figure out. We were all contributors to gentrifying Manhattan, New York City. All of us here in this room. She's just a little bit more fabulous. But we're all, I'm the biggest, you could call the biggest gentrifier of the Far West Village. What's great about her is that she had some guts. Like when, one day she says, "Oh, what's new for him?" I say, "Oh, I'm going to do an event for assisted dying." Some people call assisted suicide, whatever. And she said, "Oh, great, I'm all for it." And she said, "Would you like to hold it at my house?" And I went like, "Yeah." And then Calvin Klein came a couple of days later, and I said, "Oh," Calvin Klein said, "What's up, Florent?" And I said, "Oh, I'd like you to be on the host committee for an event. It's going to be really cool. It's at Daniel van Furstenberg. It's for, assisted suicide." He said, "Sure." So I call his assistant the next day. I said, "Yeah, Calvin Klein is going to the host committee, yet again." That was really fabulous. So I'm not connected with these people anymore because, my restaurant was like a lair, they came and I just like, "Oh, I've got a non-for-profit for you today." I'm nobody anymore. I don't see them anymore, but it was fun. It was part of the game.
You went to Albany to lobby, still for...
No, I couldn't because...
I thought you went...
Oh, I went to France.
No, you went a few...
Oh, no, also, the right to die, still,
You went to Albany.
Yes, I went to Albany to love Albany. That's where his husband is dead. Yes, I went to Albany to lobby for assisted dying.
I've got a question for you. I hear that Showtime may be adapting the Florent story into...
It's true. We're developing this as a scripted series set in '85. And
Fiction.
But it's a half-hour...
None of it is true.
It's all true. It's a half-hour comedy, and playing Florent will be Alan Cumming with a French accent.
The Scottish can roll their R's.
He's very excited about it, to play the accent. It's TV, so it's being written right now. I hope really, and keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope you all will love it, because it's going to be really funny and outrageous show set here in New York.
The biggest meatpacker, I was very close to him. And well,
There's no double entendre there.
that was very good, yes. He employed Patricia Decker, and we have a connection here, a friend of mine, who's in the movie, the woman that says like she doesn't think it was very good to Landmark. And it's good to have somebody that says, I'm not that hot. He had the company Long Island Beef. He was also at one point the chairman of the New York County Republicans. And he really overlooked and took care of me. Well, my parents took us, and I'm the youngest of three boys, on a road trip across America in the summer of '67, and I was 14. And this is when I realized that there was nothing wrong about me. I was just a geographical mistake. And as we drove, deeper into the deep south, and the rest of my family was going like, these people are weird. And I was going like, oh my God, these people are so nice, so friendly, and the motels and diners and everything. I would, talk to everybody, because in France, I was wrong. I was the wrong person, And in this trip, the same thing, I like to talk to people, and people look at you like you're insane, and you never know when to switch from vous to tu to, and I say to people, okay, we've had a couple of sentences together, can we shift to tu? You're young, and they can't, half an hour later, they're still vouvoying me, and I'm like, no, please. It's horrible.
David, are there any? There's so many great stories in the film. Are there any stories that you had to cut out that you regret?
There are so many stories. I didn't even talk about Florent's family really, because I just was sort of I wound up in the end just really concentrating on the restaurant and I couldn't. It was really hard to leave the restaurant. And there was this amazing part where you got into a fight with a gay leather guy who wound up trying to close the street. I forgot his name.
Oh, yes.
When Florent opened, this gay leather guy who was there wound up closing the street to traffic, so it killed his business. So it was this fight that Florent had to get into with this gay leather guy. Very unexpected. And then there was also that part where you had to go through some sensitivity training.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, small things would happen. I think towards the end, Flotilla DeBarge, the really enormous drag queen in there, attacked someone with her high heel. And then I found out that Florent had bailed her out, right?
Yeah.
These little kindnesses that didn't make it in. And then a lot of the Florent started a fund for a lot of the people that were longtime employees, and sold a lot of the things that were on the walls and gave them the money. And he never told me this while we were filming.
And let's thank Florent and David for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for coming. Such a warm, a smart audience. I think you're the first audience that didn't ask if Florent was going to open a new restaurant.
Yes.
Thank you for not asking.
And I want to thank especially David, because he did an incredible job and worked with very, very good people. Surrounded yourself too.
Thank you.
Thank you.